Count Dooku is truly unique character from the prequel trilogy. In the movies he is a very different kind of Sith, not impatient or consumed by rage, but calculated and at times even seemingly sentimental or tactful. It appears that he genuinely believes in what he was doing and thought it was right and he was acting for the greater good. But don't be mistaken, he is still an evil Sith Lord. Even though he sometimes appears reasonable and was respected across the galaxy amongst various worlds, Dooku was a Dark Lord, and dark side changes a person. It molded him into the worst version of himself. While some moments might show small traces of light, that was never truly the case. He was brutal and menacing. Dooku came from a rich family, but because he was gifted with the Force, he wasn't raised by them. He did not grow up in luxury, he was taken into the Jedi Order, where he became powerful Jedi, highly skilled with the lightsaber and trained by Master Yoda himself. His future was bright, but sadly, due to personal reasons and experiences, he left the Order. We know it was because of his political views on the Republic, and later on he was corrupted by Darkseid and manipulated by Darth Sidious. Even though his initial goal was to bring peace to the galaxy, darkness consumed him, and that goal was lost. Instead, he spread fear and became a key figure in the separatist movement during the Clone Wars. But beyond his role in war, what did Dooku do in his free time? How did Sith like him live? And despite being a ruthless Sith Lord, he still had a past, and unlike other Sith, he didn't hide it. So why was Dooku so rich and where did he come from? Dooku came from a planet of various forests and mountains, Serenno. The planet was named after its ruling family, House Serenno, and as you might have expected, Dooku belonged to this family. The ruler held the title of Count, which Dooku would later inherit. However, that wasn't always the case. One of the distant relatives of Dooku named Serenno once led people of planet against a Sith empire that ruled there. Eventually the planet was freed thanks to Serenno, and House Serenno became its ruling family because of that. That's how family came to power. Ironically, Serenno's descendant, Dooku, later became Sith, meaning Serenno once again fell under Sith influence years later. It is also very possible that ancient Sith influences on the planet fascinated Dooku and that contributed to him liking this planet more. Another important member of House Serenno was Dooku's father, Gora. In some ways he resembled Dooku, and also he was deeply flawed. His rule was unpopular due to many of his political decisions. He was strongly against Serenno joining the Galactic Republic, and after Gora's death he was succeeded not by Dooku but by his son Ramil. Ramil ruled much like his father, and also he was opposed to joining Galactic Republic. He even tried to turn people of Serenno against it, orchestrating pirate raids that eventually spiraled out of control. A resistance movement formed, led by Dooku and Raimi's sister Genza, who called Dooku for help. After Ramil imprisons Dooku and tortures him, Dooku ultimately overthrows his brother and kills him, and he became Count. This event deeply shocked him and became the final straw that led him to leave the Jedi Order, because he needs to stay on Serenno. After witnessing Republic's corruption one too many times, he doesn't want to ally with them again. Castle Serenno, later known as Dooku's Castle, stood magnificently on a planet for decades. As mentioned earlier, when Dooku became Count, the castle became his. This massive fortress, looming over mountains, could be adapted to serve anything the Count needed. The castle was also a major source of Dooku's personal pain. From birth, Dooku displayed powerful Force abilities which disgusted and angered his father. Gora didn't want a son like that. He called the Jedi to take him, and he didn't even wait, leaving the infant Dooku near the forest outside the castle, where he could have been easily killed by spine wolves. His father was ruthless and simply did not care. Years later, during ceremony on Serenno, which goal was to attract investors and designers, Jedi were also invited there. Unknowingly bringing young Dooku with them, this enraged Gora, who lashed out at Yoda. Later Dooku was trapped by his brother Ramil, as I already mentioned, that pushed Dooku to dark side, and as a Jedi he used the dark side and killed his brother. Afterwards, Dooku inherited the family's wealth. Since he was no longer Jedi, he was allowed to keep it, and he decided that people of Serenno needed him after everything his brother had done, so he stayed on the planet as its new ruler. When he explained his decisions to Yoda, the Jedi Order respected it and Dooku became one of Lost 20. He was still welcomed at the temple at times and even kept his lightsaber. What Jedi didn't realize was that something far more sinister was already happening, something that even Yoda didn't sense as Dooku began scheming with Darth Sidious. Dooku ruled Serenno much like his father and brother, keeping it independent from the Republic. He didn't just found the war using money from other systems, he also took resources from his own people. Over time, his fortress became filled with immense treasures, so as they had to be transported by entire ships. When we look at castle Dooku lived in, or should I call it palace, the building itself was really fascinating. Castle was built on edge of the cliff overlooking the nearest city. It featured these 6 small towers, and this one that was much noticeable, this being main structure, and this was at the cliff's edge. Several additional buildings were carved directly in rock in this cliff, including this defense base. In front of the palace were large landscaped gardens, and near the entrance stood pillars used for dark side training, which we see Dooku use while training his new assassin Savage Opress. Inside, the palace was richly decorated, equipped with modern technology, expensive paintings, furniture and carpets. Most important room was Dooku's throne room, large, mostly empty hall with his table and chair. The room was dark and ominous, but a large window behind him added color and displayed a sigil of House Serenno, which appeared throughout the castle. Dooku used his room to communicate and plan. We often saw him speaking with Sidious here, discussing some of their darkest schemes. Thanks to control panel on his table, he was able to control hidden turbo lift near him, communications, personnel, mostly droids, and castle's defenses. The throne room was located on 35th level, but at the same time we know that this castle was at least like 36 levels and even more. One of Dooku's most private rooms was his bedroom, simply in design with bed, bedside table and communication panel for emergencies. Connected directly to the turbo lift was Dooku's private hangar, and that was reserved solely for his use, as the other ship when we saw Dooku's visitors parked straight up in front of the palace. It also seems like this castle contained a large surveillance room for added security. In Dark Disciple we find out about additional rooms, including luxurious dining hall adorned with paintings and one carved cabinet. Dooku was served extravagant meals and he wouldn't eat them all because it was such a large quantities of food it would be able to feed several people. Deep within the fortified core of castle was his personal prison, complete with a torture droid, a place no one would want to end up, as Dooku rarely let anyone leave. One of most disturbing collections hidden within this castle was Dooku's lightsaber collection. These were trophies that were brought to him by Grievous or Ventress. One of the lightsabers from that collection belonged to Master Tolm, master of Quinlan Vos. This was Twisted Souvenir. While we haven't seen entire interior, it's safe to assume that this palace also contained additional bedrooms, droid security rooms, secret chambers filled with Sith artifacts or dark side nexuses for Dooku to further explore dark side powers. Was a man as important as Count Dooku savior? Yes, the Republic or any other faction couldn't simply attack Serenno due to heavy separatist defenses in orbit, the castle's extensive security system and its large battle droid presence, and if that wasn't enough, Dooku himself was a Sith Lord. What do you think about this building? Many fans are fascinated, for example, by Vader's castle, but it's equally interesting to examine Sith Lord who was completely different and how his fortress looked like and how it reflected who he truly was. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. These videos takes a lot of my time, so to support me you can like, comment, subscribe or share. I'll see you next time.